which I'm really excited to share. I do this every year around Thanksgiving, and I'll explain why in a second. That's kind of the surprise at the end. But these are the 10 must-ask questions to preserve your family stories, as it says in big and bold at the top there. But what I find interesting is that there are other layers to each of these questions, right? And I'm not saying at all that these are the only questions you need. These are just kickstarter questions. These are the questions that are going to get the conversations going. And it's really appropriate now that we're getting into the holiday seasons. And holiday season, you have a lot of opportunities to be with friends and family. So the reason why I emphasize this is that you want to save family stories, but there are other people in your lives that may be very important to you too. Your coaches, your professors, priests, bartenders, barbers, someone who's been very important to you. There was in my neighborhood, when we were growing up in San Francisco, there was a bus driver called Maze, who is super amazing. And he would actually stop for us in the middle of the street when we were running after him, which was great. Just a real institution in the neighborhood. We had different coaches who were there. Norman, who was our baseball coach. A lot of people came up through the ranks with him, which was good. I had a football coach who was good and bad. Anyway, you get the point. So a lot of people we could ask these questions to capture their stories, what was important to them. Okay, so let's get into it. You don't have to go in sequence, but we're going to go in sequence right now. So question number 1, what's your earliest memory and why do you think it's stuck with you for all these years? So the question seems pretty simple. It's a good memory, good, easy question. But what you see at the bottom is it kind of explains why this is so important. This question actually opens up a window to their childhood. So let's just say, for example, for the purposes of this exercise, we're interviewing our fathers or our grandfathers, depending. And so this opens up a window into their childhood, helping you understand, the different things, the different moments that shaped their lives, right? Like, what was their earliest memories and why do you think it stuck with them? Great question to get things going. Now, tell me about a time when you faced a big challenge and how you got through it. So these are that, overcoming struggles. Everyone's had them. My dad's part of the great generation. When I ask him these questions, he says, very simply, because we just did. Why? How did you get through it? How did you overcome this? How did you persevere? And his answer is always the same, very simple, because we just did, okay? I find that really interesting. And so these are hearing about their tough times and how they overcome them. It's a little bit of that DNA and survival instincts that we have, that they pass down to us, making another great question. Question number 3, what's the most important lesson grandma or grandpa taught you? So this would be my Grandpa Grimes, if I'm talking to my dad, of course, on the paternal side. And it's really interesting because, especially if you ask these questions with other family members, which I highly recommend, imagine my daughter's there. So she's going to hear from my dad what his dad, my grandfather, told him. And then my daughter's going to hear it too. So immediately unifying 4 generations of the family, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. So it's just, as I write there in small print, that it helps connect the wisdom of past generations, and you can understand their values that have been passed down, okay? So it's kind of interesting. When I look to the side, I have a bigger screen. Even with my glasses on, this print is a little bit tough for me, honestly, on my computer. You see. Oh, here we go. Got another set of glasses. Photo style. I'm not necessarily, okay, good. All right, now we're in business. Okay, good. So that was question number 3. Question number 4, how did you meet mom or dad? Your spouse. Imagine I'm just, we're talking to our grandparents, for example, in this case. How did you meet grandma, right? And how did you know they were special? This is the question I ask a lot of people, like who are dating. How long were you dating before you realized this was the one, right? Have you asked that to your dad or your grandparents? That's really important to know. So as we know, as the little fine print says right there, relationships are a big part of our story, our family story. It's why we're here, right? Because those first relationships happen. So knowing how yours got started gives you a lot of clarity of how your family was built, okay? Now, is there a story from your life that you think every one of us should know, okay? And this is it, like, what is the rubber, where the rubber meets the road? Like, what story do you think is gonna be the most important? I think there are a lot of them for my dad. I would say one of them, for me, was him being shipped out on a troop carrier. So he was in San Diego, he was a Marine, and, well, once a Marine, always a Marine, as you know, and going to the war in Korea, the Korean War, the United Nations Charter War, the war that's never ended. There's still a 38th parallel there, and it's called the Forgotten War because it's smack dab in the middle of World War II and the Vietnam War, which made more headlines. And so it was a brutal, brutal, brutal war, and I've heard a lot of stories about that. But anyway, my dad, as a kid from Minnesota, I was 19, 20 when he got on the cruise ship, sailing away, on a cargo carrier, troop carrier, from San Diego to the across Pacific, the biggest ocean, to Japan first and then Korea, and not knowing if he's ever going to come back. So those are critical moments. He actually had to make peace with the fact that he may not come back. And if you could just think about that for a moment, that type of realization can really change your life. So I'm not going to go through all of these right now. I'll be able to share these with you when I post this. There'll be access to this as well. You could read through them yourself. I don't want this video to be too long. However, what I do want to share with you is something I find very interesting. So I'm going to stop my share for a second and go to something else that I want to share with you, which is, where is that? Give me a second. Okay, let me show the website. Give me a second. I'm going to just pause it here for a second. Okay, so we're recording again, and thank you for that, your patience and that pause. This I find is fascinating. The reason why I mentioned that there's a little surprise at the end, if you like this process of asking these questions to your family members, and what I highly recommend, in addition to doing with other family members present and letting the questions flow and everyone could throw out more questions and start with these 10 as a base, but let this conversation flow and become much deeper, much more valuable, much more profound, then I recommend two other things. Record it with a camera or just a recorder, your phone, because then you'll have the audio scripts, maybe even video, and then you could turn those audio scripts into transcripts, which could be something you can read. Right? So you could turn these conversations into family heirlooms with your grandparents or your parents that could be passed down to future generations. How many of these amazing stories from your family would you love for future generations to hear? How tragic would it be if they never heard them, if you lost them? And, not to bum anyone out, but this happens, right? To speak a little bit, give you two examples personally. We don't have any footage of my mom before she passed away. It wasn't like now when everyone has video cameras and take videos of your breakfasts. This is, for me, very painful because I see pictures of her. I have her voice in my head, of course, but it'd be great to see videos of her. How about doing that for your children or your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren? So that's part of the thought here. We did this with StoryCorps, right? And so StoryCorps does the Great Listen, as you can see here, every Thanksgiving. And that's why around these dates, I do this video too, to help people get started with the 10 questions. And if they're feeling very motivated, they go to StoryCorps and do their full-on methodology for interviewing your loved ones as part of the Great Listen, which is what they do over Thanksgiving. Now, The other wrinkle, the other surprise here is we did this for my dad, not a great listen, just to record him. And we took those transcripts and turned them into a book, his own biography. So my dad is an avid reader, and now he has his own book about his life. And we shared it with all of his grandchildren. And of course, kids these days just want to see little reels and shorts and all these things, short attention span like we all have. But his grandchildren actually read the book, and they heard of stories that they had never heard before, which makes it very valuable. And think about that. I just got married recently, and I took my dad's book and shared it with my wife so she could read about all of our family history and be really up to date, good or bad, with the anecdotes of our family. So that's all. That's what I just want to share with you today. Good for you to check these things out and check out the 10 questions. If you're feeling very motivated, record them, turn them into family heirlooms. If you're even more motivated, go to Storycorps and you could record your story there. They actually take those stories and they deposit them in the National Archives. So your story becomes part of history forever. It's immortalized. So that's kind of exciting too. And with that, if you have any questions, just let me know.